You want me to put that on my Tudor?
How the Narcissist Changed Harry. Yes, there you can see the pink pancakes. Harry was once in possession of some big pink pods. They swung to the left, they swung to the right. He occasionally got the old pink pods out, as he did so in Las Vegas. He twirled them around, but then he met Harry's wife, and as a consequence of her manipulations and ownership of him, those once proud pink pods became relegated to pink pancakes, as on a regular basis they would be squished, as she would take hold of them and by application of a vice-like grip squeeze him into submission. That the application of her manipulations caused those once spherical pods to become diminished, pancaked, flattened, squished. Sometimes she did this by application of tasering him, but the outcome was always the same, that those once proud pink pods simply became the flattened, near lifeless pink pancakes that are demonstrative of his simp-like status as being her lieutenant, intimate partner, primary source, and captive. We have all seen the many changes that have been undertaken with regard to Harry and how the narcissist has changed him. I have explained to you in parts past that this is what the narcissist does, that when the narcissist comes along and draws somebody into our world, we essentially suck the life out of you. We may cause you to become unrecognizable, causing you to alter your views, stopping you from engaging in habits and rituals and events that you once thoroughly enjoyed, cutting you off from family, cutting you off from friends, causing you to change job. We might cause you to dress differently, alter your hairstyle, have different political views, not engage in the sports that once enjoyed, taking up different ones, change your diet, affect your finances. We may change your sexual habits. It may be the case that we come along and drain your self-worth from you, your identity, as we subsume you into our world. That we get rid of your self-worth and self-confidence. That we berate you, we bash you, we belittle you. And thus you become unrecognizable, both in terms of what we take from you and what we shape you into also. And you can list many instances of how this has happened with Harry as the narcissist in his life. His wife has taken hold of him and changed him. But here, recorded in the Mail Online, we see some instances of how Harry changed at an early juncture into the relationship. The article by Charlotte Griffith tells us, revealed. The moment Harry's inner circle realised the party prince had turned into unrecognisable woke duke, and it all started with granola and some bewildering requests from Harry's wife. This, of course, demonstrates the influence that she had and has over him. It was the year he got married that the penny finally dropped for some members of Prince Harry's inner circle. Standing before them in the 19th century St. Luke's Chapel in Chelsea in December 2018 at the annual carol concert held by the Van Straubenzee family, Harry delivered not a festive reading as anticipated, but a solemn sermon about period poverty. The importance of the issue was not in question, even if the topic felt jarringly inappropriate to the church's aristocratic audience. But that it came from Harry, a man most had known since he was a boy, and who had more than earned his reputation as the irreverent party prince, was what caused the greatest astonishment. Harry, just 6 months after his wedding to Harry's wife, was a changed man. Indeed, there is little today that his once close friends recognise at all in the figure they see interviewed on screen so frequently. Nor is there much to remind them of the hedonistic charmer they once knew in the woke homilies he has been trotting out in the Shitflix documentary Harry and Harry's Wife and his autobiography, Wah, about the shortcomings of the royal family, his hatred of the media, and his personal journey of grief and healing. But as his friends have told the Mail on Sunday, the signs that a personal transformation was afoot were already there in the earliest days of the couple's relationship. This, of course, denotes the way that the narcissist gets to work on you at the earliest stage. And it began with granola. We first noticed a proper change when he came down to the breakfast buffet during a shooting weekend and started squirreling away bowls of granola to take upstairs to his bedroom, one source said. We asked why he wasn't tucking into the bacon and eggs with the rest of us. He said something about having been doing yoga at dawn with Harry's wife, and they wanted breakfast together alone in their bedroom, already isolating Harry, pulling him away from potential threats to control that were seen in his non-intimate secondary source friends. A telling moment reveals just how much an entranced Harry was prepared to put up with. During a London dinner party in the early days of their relationship, friends told how Harry's wife went berserk because she was not seated beside Harry, despite the British custom which dictates that couples should sit apart, sense of entitlement, threat to control, ignition of heated fury. Harry is said to have simply shrugged off her behaviour, much to his friends' chagrin, demonstrating, of course, that he was already under her control. She made quite a scene, said one source. She wanted to sit next to Harry and felt offended she wasn't sitting with him. We looked to Harry for explanation, but he just said, I know, but she's so hot, demonstrating, of course, that he is being brainwashed at that juncture by the spicy poontang. Further dinner party faux pas followed, as Harry's wife is said to have treated social situations as if it were a Hollywood networking event, demonstrating the incongruity of her behaviour and that her narcissism didn't get it. Ahead of a casual dinner being hosted by Jack Mann, a polo-playing friend of Harry's and an usher at their wedding, a source says Jack was astonished to receive a list of demands in advance, sense of entitlement, lack of emotional empathy. Harry's wife wanted to know what designers the women would be wearing, what the seating plan would be, that kind of thing, the source said. Jack was so gobsmacked he simply didn't respond. It was a bizarre request to receive ahead of a relaxed occasion, but certainly not a surprising one coming from a mid-range narcissist. When Jack decided not to respond to the email, causing wounding, another missive was issued, further Hoover. In the second email, it seemed Harry's wife was especially interested to know the names of the wives and girlfriends attending, the source added. Again, Jack declined to tell her anything. This wasn't a networking dinner for movie executives in the Hollywood Hills with George Clooney. It was wine and food with friends. In the end, they both turned up, but Harry's wife seemed miffed, and she left before dinner. Assertion of control by withdrawal, lack of emotional empathy by behaving in a rude manner to your host. By the time the pair married in May 2018 and attended the Van Straubenzies carol service together that Christmas, the transformation was complete. Indeed. Friends believe the period poetry speech was so out of character for Harry that he may not have even written it himself. Indeed, he won't have done. She'll have done it. It's a noble cause and clearly one he learned about from Harry's wife, one former friend in attendance that night recalled. But this carol service was not the time or place. He knew full well that the congregation was made up of old toffs who would be squirming in their seats. Harry had just decided to become an activist at the time, having had his eyes opened by Harry's wife. It didn't seem like he had written the entirety of what he was reading. In any case, most of the friends who were there that evening are no longer in touch with Harry. Isolation, loss of those friends. It is certainly telling that none appeared in the Netflix documentary which told the couple's truth. One source suggests that Harry has even cut off Violet von Westenholz, the mutual friend who brought him together with Harry's wife. She was not mentioned by name in the Netflix show, and a photograph of Harry's wife and Violet together, the one uploaded to social media, which prompted Harry to ask Violet to set him up on a date, cropped out her face. Exhibition of jealousy. She's afraid that she might lose Harry to someone like Violet, even though they're just friends. The source adds, Harry literally and figuratively cropped Violet out of his life because of a silly tiff with Harry's wife. The bewilderment felt by Harry's chums, or his former chums, is all the greater because the colourful man they remember is very different to the one being portrayed in the film and the book. Some of the most sensational revelations include details of his drug use, including taking cocaine as a teenager, smoking cannabis and using magic mushrooms in the home of Friends actress Courtney Cox, which caused him to hallucinate that a bathroom bin was talking to him. But Friends say even these stories are carefully calibrated versions of the reality. If this really was an exercise in clearing his conscience, Harry could have owned up to much more, says one acquaintance. Yes, it was much more than we have ever read about a senior royal before, but there was oh so much more he could have said. There is, of course, debauchery in the book, a notorious trip to Las Vegas in 2012 in which Harry was photographed playing naked billiards. Following an all-day drinking session is described in detail. There is no mention, however, of the freebie suite Harry accepted from a generous hotelier, and friends say there were many other equally hedonistic trips to Vegas which were omitted. The infamous strip billiards trip was not a one-off, one source insists. Harry went a few times and had some deal going with the hotel. He got to know an American girl so well that he spent Thanksgiving at her family home. And the old Harry would revel in overturning PC conventions. Harry wasn't afraid to say things which may cause offence. One said at dinners, for example, he has a history of behaving like he's at the school canteen, mucking about, making in-jokes and generally interrupting the flow of conversation. There was one time when we came down to a formal dinner to find he'd rearranged a dozen Patrick Mavros animal figurines, wildly expensive silver table decorations in the dining room to make it look like they were mating. It was more cringe than funny as prank goes from a grown man. One does wonder whether all that tomfoolery stuff is still under the surface, though he says he's being changed for the better by his wife. Despite the Californian gloss and therapy speak, there are some who still believe that the old Harry isn't too far beneath the surface. It's been suggested, for example, that amid the turmoil of whatever is in his head, there is some shred of remorse, and that he came close to abandoning the book project entirely after taking advice from the Spencer side of the family. Will his former self, the one so loved by the nation, return one day? That's what most of his friends are hoping. How Harry's wife sees it is another matter entirely. Of course, the Harry that used to exist is still there, but it is wrapped up in the manipulations and the fog of his emotional thinking and the changes that she has effected. Whether it will return will depend on whether he's disengaged from or whether he escapes. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.